recorded. And now it's being recorded. And it will be shared on the Littoral Books website. If you are joining us as a guest, please turn off your audio and your video to help us preserve the bandwidth. You will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end of the program during the after party. Yeah, we're having an after party. But don't let that stop you from commenting. Please type in your thoughts as each of our talented poets reads. You can open up the chat feature, type in anything you'd want. Of course, there are reaction buttons when you don't know quite what to say, but you're moved to show how you feel, and those are on the bottom of your screen. You may also control the number of readers you see on the screen at any given time by toggling the view, which is on the upper right-hand corner of your screen on most computers. I recommend that you have all of the readers up at the same time. It's really quite wonderful. I'm not going to waste any more time. Here is Meghan Sterling, the host of tonight's program.
Hello. Thank you so much, Robert. I want to mention that next month on December 9th, which is a Wednesday, Robert is going to be in discussion with the Littoral Books founder and the fabulous novelist, Agnes Bichel. Her latest novel is The Oracle Pool. It will be a discussion about that book. It'll be 7 o'clock on a Wednesday. That's how we do things. And I recommend that you check it out. We'll be sending some links out in the next few weeks. So keep your eyes open for that and join us. It's going to be fantastic. It's always a fabulous thing to hear about Agnes's process in writing. So welcome. My name is Meghan Sterling. I'm a friend of Littoral Books. I'm also a poet, and I'm here to facilitate this evening's program. We have 13 poets here tonight. And this is going to be a diverse and fascinating example of some of the poems that have been featured in these two Littoral Books works, Balancing Act 2 and Enough, poems of resistance and protest. So the books we're featuring tonight are focused on marginalized voices. Balancing Act 2 is a collection of poetry by Maine women, and Enough is focusing on the outrage that people felt sparked by recent events that led to the deaths of people of color at the hands of the police. So these 13 poets are going to be sharing poems that have come from these places and experiences, poems of joy, of overwhelm, of pain, loss, rage, and love. We really want all of you to feel engaged. You know, the Zoom experience is unique and can be a little challenging to really feel like you're part of things. So we really want you to feel engaged. So please, 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 if you have a reaction, a response, a question, please put it into the chat. Robert's gonna be sorting through those things. We're gonna have time at the end to have a chat with all of you. If you would have some things you really would like to say, please stay at the end. We're gonna have a 15-minute after party to chat with everyone, so please stay. But yeah, express your reactions with the reaction buttons. That makes a person reading feel heard. So it's a wonderful opportunity for you to share and feel engaged. So without further ado, let us begin. Our first poet reading this evening is Samaa Abdurraqib. She currently lives in Portland, has been living in Maine since 2010. She's excited to be returning to poetry after a 20-year hiatus from creative writing. Welcome, Samaa.
Thank you, Megan. I'm going to read two poems. The first poem I'm going to read is from the collection Enough. This poem is called While Preparing to Read the Next Statement, claiming that their organization, company, business, believes that Black Lives Matter. As if they don't know how crucial the act of breathing is. They're too busy shaping up their metaphors for the statements they will write when they are able, when the frozen feeling passes, as if the feeling of being stunned is the same as a body rendered immobile there on the ground, underneath a man in blue or not blue. It doesn't matter, they're always white, as if it's the same. Erasure is not metaphor. Erasure is not errant mistake. It is intention. It is knees and feet on neck to submergence. It is pressure under thumbprint and rubbing out. It is the shroud that covers the still body in the street, eventually. The second poem I'm going to read is called Cosigns, and it's just a bunch of images, I guess. Cosigns. If life is a test, then what are we and what is this? A swim of cormorants perched on a wire like happenstance. A sunning themselves a sign of something. Leaning towards a talisman with dense bones. Shapeshifters slouched. Now gargling gargoyle, now statue, that noble gleaming turquoise, a marble to behold. 25 all lined up in rows. Tell us what comes next so we won't skip ahead with wonder and confusion and fingers pointing, angled up from the ground. Strange stance. Let's call it cosine, but only as a measure because this flight of birds is a constant here. The stumbling variable is all of us, paused, questions in hand. Instead ask, what is there to be learned from a blaze orange sun that makes way to a golden moon of half-eaten pie? Perhaps there's a portent there, here. If life is a test, now let us turn our necks more slowly to the general west, taking in the blazing color, silently mouthing as we puzzle over what season comes next. Thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you so much. Really, really powerful. I can't believe you were away from poetry for 20 years. That's wild. Welcome back. Clearly it's where you belong.
Thank you, Samaa.
Our next poet is Lois Anne. Lois Anne is an artist, a visual artist and a writer who has a studio in the Rockland, Maine area for over 40 years. Currently, she's writing poems and exploring possibilities with collage and other hybrid pieces that combine visual elements with text in various ways. Welcome, Lois Anne.
Thank you. And I thank everyone here this evening. My poem in Enough is an erasure poem and it's more visual than to be read aloud. So I am going to read a poem entitled Evicted from the Dream Shelter, Summer 2020. And the epigraph is from the song by There But for Fortune by Phil Oakes, and it's been recorded by numerous artists. And the two lines from that song are, and I'll show you a young man with so many reasons why, and there but for fortune may go you or I. Soup kitchens closed, dumpsters locked. Even the seagulls are hungry in these raging and virus times. And someone sings, there but for fortune. Ragged wool, tattered blanket, splinters from that weathered bench, last week's papers, an empty pail, and someone goes on about some fortune. Strung out, strung up, frayed cuffs, buttons gone, and so is everything else. Wool, leather, shell, bone, skin, and song. And someone don't know nothing about misfortune. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Those are beautiful images. I love how you read when you stopped after all of those beautiful images, so they just built up. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Oh. Well, thank you, Samaa. And I loved your poem, The Cosigns. I mean, talk about a string of wonderful images. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. For our next poet, we have Laura Bonazzoli. She's a freelance editor and writer. Her poetry, short stories, and personal essays have appeared in anthologies and in dozens of literary magazines. She lives in Rockport, Maine. Welcome.
Megan and Robert, I want to thank you both for this, for putting all of this together. Thank you so much. It's a great opportunity. I have just one poem to read from Enough, because it's a somewhat long poem. It's called At the George Floyd Memorial Protest, June 19th, 2020, Rockland, Maine. A voice calls out, lie down in the street when the alarm sounds, face down, hands clasped together behind your back, 8 minutes, 46 seconds. So we march in silence until the alarm sounds. Then we all lie down in the street, face down, hands clasped together behind our backs. I'm a grown woman, but I've never lain down in the street before. Don't know, it feels like fear, feels like humiliation, like being a child when your father takes off his belt and says, pull down your pants. Or maybe some guy at work comes up behind you, traps you between the counter and his chest, his groin, and you squirm and plead because that's what a caught body does, trying to get free. I'm a grown woman with a grown woman child, but I've never cried in the street before. Don't know, the tears are just the first surprise. Don't know how soon a face down, how soon a chest, heavy on the hot asphalt, burns to lift, how soon a neck stretches to hold the lips above the grit, the dust. This is how soon shoulders pulled back ache to slacken, hand holding wrist and wrist held, straying to break free, to make an arc of grace above the shame. A breeze off the sea ripples my shirt. I turn my head, watch a gull sail, cool and sweet, until a voice calls out, he said, I can't breathe. And our breath stirs the dust. He said, Mama, Mama. And we invoke love. He said, some water or something. And we thirst for justice. He said, please, sir, please, please. And we pray the names of our brothers and sisters. And I watch the gull skim the air and disappear until all I can see is the cloudless, the blue, the empty of all but light, blind, bright sky.
Laura, thank you for the way you travel back and forth. I really, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The way you first brought me there and then brought in the analogies to deepen the feeling and created the personal relationships with it and can move back and forth like that. your slow walking into George Floyd's piece at the end it helped really make it moving and bring me there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Martin.
I had to pull myself together a little bit there. That's an incredible poem. Thank you.
Thank you.
It just reminds me of why we do this, right?
Right.
I just wanted to
So go
say
ahead.
I had read the poem before, but your reading of it is just incredible. It's really just went right through me. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Our next poet is Cara Douglas. Cara Douglas is a yoga and meditation teacher and a freelance writer. She lives in Harpswell with her husband and her 2 daughters. Welcome, Cara.
Thank you, Megan. The piece that I'll read tonight comes from Balancing Act 2. The title of the poem is Releasing the Trees. And that title comes from a term in orchard care when a tree has become really overgrown, especially a very old tree. It needs to be released from dead wood. It needs to be released from overgrowth, vines and things that might be trailing on its limbs. And so it's an actual term. I actually have 6 very, very old apple trees in my yard. And when we first moved here, 2 of them were very overgrown and we had to sort of carve them back out of the woods that were starting to encroach. Before I read the poem, I want to just quote briefly from a speech that I have listened to repeatedly recently. This was a TED Talk given in 2017 by Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs. One of the things he's talking about is that we collectively create an identity by telling a story. And he says that 2 things have happened simultaneously in recent years that has shifted this in some ways. He says, first of all, in the West, we have stopped telling the story of who we are collectively and why. And secondly, immigration is higher than it has ever been before. When you tell a story, he says, your identity becomes strong. When your identity is strong, you can welcome the stranger. But when you stop telling the story, your identity weakens and you feel threatened by the stranger. So keeping that in mind, I'll share this piece, Releasing the Trees, looking at trees themselves and the history of a family. Like grandmothers, they stand at the boundary where tendrils of fog weave between their gnarled arms, hemming the skirt edge of time. Speak of waking the old trees, and words like rain are gentled into the soft till. Once, 2 girls sailed across the great ocean alone. They spoke mainly to each other and watched the other travelers with wide eyes. At the field's edge, I circumnavigate the oldest mother, hung now with trailing vines, talk like I might to a wild one hungry for touch. Branches braid the light. My fingers coax back shadows, combing as if through a tangled mane, roughing out new growth from what looks like death, splintered and curled. I wonder now what it was like on that ship, listing hard to port in the fall wind, holding the cries of children awake in the night, bearing them all to a new land, their roots tied up in bundles, their shoes too tight and worn. They stepped gratefully, wearily on the stone shore when it came. Their chins lifted in greeting to this new land, the promise of a life hard won and worthwhile. Old tree, I wonder if your roots have mingled with the poplar and the oak. I wonder if they clasp each other in some secret place I cannot see. Those girls whose children are my family must have known their place in the order of things. They must have curled their tongues again and again around the chicken bones of strange words. They must have wrapped their bodies in this uncertain light and borne down hard.
Such exquisite, exquisite language. Just incredible. It's so wonderful to hear what our language is capable of.
Thank you, Megan.
Beautiful. Our next poet is Katherine Hagopian Berry, my dear friend. She has appeared in the Cafe Review, Enough Poems of Resistance and Protest, Dangerous New World, Balancing Act 2, Glass, Poets Resist, and Frost Meadow Review, and has work forthcoming in Strange Fire, Jewish Voices on the Pandemic. Her first full-length collection of poetry, Massed Year, is available from Littoral Books. You should all buy it because it is an incredible work. Welcome, Katherine.
Thank you, Megan. Okay. My great-great-grandmother was the wise woman. Stop. Listen. My great-great-grandmother was the wise woman. She lived under a mountain dappled with bones. She named her daughters for stars. Listen. On the back of morning blinding, they rolled away the rock, and she spoke. She spoke. I would pull skin back lovingly over those bones if she could speak to me. I would come to her across the pines and cedars, follow the path of every pendant star. I would brush each white hair, pin her scarf close. I would become this inheritance. My great-great-grandmother was the wise woman. Stop. Listen. My great-great-grandmother was the wise woman. Her village is lost under the ocean, under the mountains. We have forgotten the way across the pines and cedars. We have forgotten the shapes of her hands. We have only this. She was the wise woman. Listen, we know this. She was. So that was the poem that started me off. That was my very first poem in Balancing Act. It's the first poem of my book. And it felt important to start tonight there, especially because I was thinking about grandmothers. I lost one of my grandmothers recently. And I lost one of my grandmothers on the exact same day that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, which seemed a little irresistible as a poet to not sort of imagine some mysterious Lethe-like space, RBG, Jewish, like my mom, does not subscribe to a traditional kind of pearly gates, heaven, afterlife idea. My own grandmother was extremely Catholic, and so it is very much pearly gates, traditional heaven kind of idea. And so I had to imagine them before whatever comes after. But that imagining gave me a weird kind of peace. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies on the same day as my grandmother. I wonder what they say to each other, Justice Ginsburg and my grandmother, in the long heaven line together, eye to clearing eye. She gave up everything. She never surrendered. Catholic, Jew, Republican, liberal, and now before the font of all life bathing some rainbow, their nakedness, achieving perhaps communion, perhaps the grasp of one bent palm smiling in unison as each scar clears. My grandmother remembering all her lost names. Ginsburg finally closing, all cases resting, dwelling on the beauty of some aria illuminated pinpoint of moon on the window blind, a lace collar, fragile bulwark on the night. Perhaps they are already dissolving. Shell of a body unfolding, godlight gleaming, understanding everything divides to nothing at all. but I think they must have talked about their mothers. One who ran, one who died, how it felt lonely in the house of fathers, hair pulled back, the same chignon. And I think I have 1 minute left. Do I? Do I have a minute? So because I have a minute and because I always leave a little space for a poem that someone suggests to me, this one, because thinking about my grandmother and thinking about the funeral, I was able to go back home and I got a chance to kind of return, which is an interesting thing to happen these days. And for one moment, I got to go back to some of the beautiful places from when I was in college. And I wrote a poem called Magic on Night. Draw the world card eternal, light the sweet sage thistle, blood candle, paint every shadow blue, violet, purple. Drive the circle, you still know the way. In darkness, in blindness, find the outline of your young dreams. Reliquary, sanctuary, this pilgrimage prostrate at the feet of your past. Splinter tooth, fingernail, seek some grasp of bone on time-bleached bone, white out address, blank, the raw field where once our houses stood. Come seeking resolution, compassion. Open the door sign, pour the red wine, string the bead, a newborn mala, transit autumn stars, our palms oracles, signs and wonders on street corners, magnolia leaves evergreen. From the rust iron, you have made a garden. From chainmail, a jewel. In our hunger now, the lost feast comes, forgotten savor, books still waiting exactly where we put them on the windowsill, by the streetlight, sunflower car wheels spinning like a galaxy rotating, dark road gentled by what refuses eclipse, by what will never change. Thank you.
So wonderful, Katherine. Thank you, thank you. Love it, love it. Our next poet is Annalise Jakimides, a finalist for the Stephen Dunn Poetry Prize, among others. Annalise Jakimides' prose and poetry have been nominated for a Pushcart Prize, broadcast on NPR, and published in many magazines, journals, and anthologies, most recently, The Plague Papers. Welcome, Annalise.
Thank you very much. I'm going to read two poems, both of them in the anthology. And the first one is Naming Begun for Elijah McClain, February 25th, 1996 to August 27th, 2019. And because I can, I want to say also that Elijah lived in Aurora, Colorado. He was 23 years old when he was killed. He was living with his cousin and was almost home. He was described as a pacifist, a vegetarian. He taught himself to play the violin, and his friends all said that it was unlikely he would even set a mousetrap, even if he were overrun with mice. So, Naming Begun. And when I refer to some colors in this poem, it's important that you know that these refer to actual cosmological terms. Naming Begun for Elijah McClain. Driving around the stars, slipping in and out of a box of darkness, black holes, red giants, white dwarfs are banging and twanging on space, while Elijah McClain puts down his violin and iced tea on his last walk home. Police again, black man again, no noticing again, until one violinist, two violinists, many violinists note what you see, keep showing up, lifting him up out of silence, a garrison of stars acknowledged. And I'm closing, obviously I've only had two, I'm closing with the second poem. And I want to add my appreciation right now for the breadth and diversity of the work in this collection. There is power in the words, and all of our words and all of us. And if we could only remember that we are all neighboring together while we're here on this planet. Springtime. Spring and the one tree on the corner of Pine and Third, ecstatic with bloom, sun cliffed high over rooftops, one pink curtain wrapping through a newly opened window, but don't bother remembering any of that. No one will. They will only remember hearing fire, the word or the bullets, maybe the flames, and the boy with the pants falling off his hips, how he opens his arms, scoops up the small child of the seamless cry, and folds her against his chest, her face pressed into the skull and crossbones of his black hoodie. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annalise. I find myself incredibly moved by all of these poems, and I feel so honored and privileged to be here with all of these incredibly talented people sharing such important work. So thank you. Our next poet is Susan T. Landry. She is a medical editor and writer of poems and memoir stories, many of which have been published. She has edited several literary journals over the years and is now in the throes of publishing her first book, an illustrated tale for kids and adults called We, A Story of Us. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. I was very proud to have several poems published in Balancing Act 2, and I'm going to read one of them this evening. Thank you. The title is Photo at the Church Fair. The blouse I am wearing is pink and white gingham with cropped sleeves and pearl buttons. My clothes are faded and you can tell they won't fit me much longer. I grew so quickly that summer, I was as tall as a grown-up woman. In the photograph, my legs, sticking out of shorts, are long and smooth with hardly any definition, as though I've pushed straight up out of the earth. I am 11 years old. There's a man at the church fair with a camera on a tripod, taking pictures. His camera is square, a large box covered with a black cloth hood where he hides his head. He asks us to stand near the curb of the church drive, alongside a split rail fence. There's a maple right behind us. A leafed out branch curves above our heads, out of focus. Beyond that, cloudy in the distance, is the back door of the parish house. My right arm hangs by my side, and my hand, cupped slightly, holds the money I'll give the photographer when he's done. Mark is to my left. He's standing on the curbstone to be taller, but he barely comes up to my waist. He's 4 years old. His sneakers are dark with white trim, like twin rowboats, and his striped jersey is untucked from his shorts, which droop to his knees. My left hand touches him, 2 fingers linked inside the bend of his little boy arm. We look directly into the lens of the camera. His eyebrows are like pale wings, raised in fear or wonder. His summer crew cut is so full of light, it could be a halo. A stray sunbeam strikes him on the temple. I am watchful, the big sister. I look at the Polaroid photo now, and I think of how I was taught to interpret dreams. Be your long ago self, Susan. Be the rowboats as they pull away from the dock. Be the one left behind. Be the wide maple tree. Be the warm sun on Mark's head. Be the white steeple of the church on the hill. Be the seed of the woman you must become. Someday you'll be the one to tell the story, and you'll have to remember everything.
Thank you all so much. And thank you to everyone who's commenting. And please continue to comment. It allows us to kind of come out of our isolation as writers and experience a response. So thank you. Our next poet is Molana Oe. She's a writer from down East Maine. Her work has always been fed and nurtured by that region. She's proud of the wild potential in this state, hopes to continue meeting the fantastic artists it inspires. So true. Welcome, Molana.
Thank you. It's such an honor being here with all of you. This is very, very exciting. I am going to be reading 3 short poems from Balancing Act 2. Hometown Morning Glory. Gnarly pined, fogged in, jagged coast of infinite inlet, the tangy brine of slack tide. Tucked in mudded shadow, cabins warp, hinge rested, buoys shedding paint, a gull's dissolving feathers. The sand it breathes, down the tangle green, seagrass tufted deep, it secrets away the bones. Somewhere, halfway up a mountainside, there is a house whose walls are lapped by ferns, whose interior is as calm as a June morning. There I place my reason for safekeeping. There is some kind of lawfulness that quiets the riot of my soul. Farewell, brigands. Tonight I will leap through doorways, scamper down halls, and paw the globe on its rickety stand, till oceans slosh and continents pile up. I will track in sand from the surf, spit from turrets onto the helms of nights, and sing off-key into a blustering cliffside gale.
I love the playfulness and I love the shift in energy between these 3 shorter pieces. Really well done. Thank you, thank you. Our next poet is Martin Steingesser. Martin Steingesser's most recent book is Yellow Horses. He says, "There are moments speaking poems aloud I love, when windows, doors, walls blow off, and I am in a warm, boundless space with whomever's listening." Martin served as Portland, Maine's inaugural Poet Laureate from 2007 to 2009. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you. I also want to say thank you for giving me a place among this wonderful community, Meghan, and also the 2 editors of Enough, Agnes Boschel and Claire Milliken, for bringing us really into the one book. And there I see also I thought I saw it. Look, oh yeah, Lori, who designed the book in the powerful image on the cover of Enough. Thank you. This poem I'm going to do one poem from Enough. And it's called Three Blows. Summer, but you wouldn't know it from the sunless blue light, cold wind wafting among trees around me. Cold wind wafting around the trees around me. Despite a garden so full, lush in green, every bush and tree, a cloud of leaves, pear, redbud, viburnum. I almost forget how far from Eden or any woods, any forest of truth we've been flung, yet go on like crusaders on their chargers, murdering whatever breathes under the hooves of country, progress, destiny, godhood. This morning I woke loving who I am, composer, architect of dreams, lover of women, men, the boy in me, loving the boy in me, loving the sparrow, marigold, sequoia, grasshopper, grizzly, minnow and orca, and abruptly, human, no longer able to dodge. I am human, Homo sapiens, hunter, marauder, murderer of them all. Too many contradictions, waking into this dimmed light, into the winter of our soul, winter dimmed heart, viral growth of virtual life. Viral growth of virtual life. Imagine the Mustang, Impala as automobiles, the Apple, a computer, our Midas, king, economics, non-biodegradable homes, offices, playgrounds, the carpet corruption of profit. Yet this morning, branches of the pear tree are tipping with small green bells. The garden, like an irrefutable leaf-lined heart. Our irrefutable dying into irrefutable life. You know, somebody said that, thank you, Megan, that he didn't feel like he'd written a poem until something entered that he didn't know when he started, or she, and it was a sort of gift to me to be able to find a strong place to stand that didn't compromise the difficulty we're in, that could be in the poem with the ending.
Thank you so much, Martin. What a delight to see you read. The next poet is me. I find that I often draw together seemingly disparate experiences and find the kernel that links them. It's not something I do on purpose. It's something that happens in my brain. And I find that a lot of my poems are exercises in me trying to work it all out. And the poem I'm going to read tonight is from Enough. And the title really explains it, but I felt like the title had to. It's called Loon Stabs Bald Eagle Through the Heart, the same week George Floyd is murdered. Every mother knows this fear. Dreams that have kept me up nights. A thick-necked stranger grabs at my infant daughter. The roar of rising waters wresting her from my arms. And now, a policeman kneeling on her neck as she calls my name. She is 3. And I still dream she is a newborn. My DNA dictating me to organize every part of my life to protect her. My body arranging to become a shield. It just happens. You look into the face of your child, petal soft and gaping like a fish, and you resolve that you would kill for her. The loon was no different. The chick she lay, that she carried across waters, cradled in her wings, grasped to death by the eagle who thought this was just another answer to hunger. But we mothers know the brutal acts possible. The fingers that stroke our infant's hair would stab out a man's eyes without joy, urged to murder by the simple fact of animal justice. And the grief that propelled the mother's beak to pierce the eagle's heart as fast and clean as a bullet is the grief that all mothers flinch to mention. And the man on the ground, as breath failed him, calling out, "Mama," as he was murdered by a policeman, is the voice that haunts us. Every mother who heard that call cries out in answer, "Darling, we are coming." I feel like the feeling that I had that urged me to write that poem is kind of the feeling that urges me to write all poems. This urgency and this incredible sense of powerlessness that I only know how to write out. So thank you. The next poet is Mary Tracy. Mary Tracy is a retired educator who enjoys words, sounds, images, and color. In addition to appearing in Balancing Act 2, her poems have been published in Poems from Here, Frost Meta Review, and Reflections. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. And Megan, first I want to comment on the deep expression of motherhood and how strong that is. And even as a grandmother and as a teacher, that's been a driving force. I've chosen two poems. They're short. They arise out of everyday experiences, which is where most of my poems originate. And I offer them as a counterbalance, as sort of, they're looking at summer. And so we can look back after this windy day today and think about summer, and we can look forward that we will have summer again. And I find that when life becomes overwhelming, when the difficulties of life become overwhelming, I get most grounded when I come right back to the very ordinary gifts that we have in our life. So the first poem is called Summer Rain. I love a summer rain so hard it bounces off the street, throws itself down with quick tenacity, reverse fireworks of tiny pops all over the pavement. I love the laugh of running into the house with the grocery bags flopping against me and peeling off the wet clothes and stepping into dry calm. I love the way the rain peppers the brand new stream that slides down the street you hardly thought had a slope at all, a rumbling conveyor belt, rapid, rapid, rapid. And then rain speeds up even more, rapid, 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 and bangs the roof and cackles around the edges of the house, and my typing fingers can't keep up. I love the rain when it slows and stops late in the night. So gently I don't escape my dream, but awaken to a still morning, still wet, still there. Thank you. The next one is even more mundane. It's called Laundry. Of all the household jobs, the myriads, the sundries that tie me to my simple self, I choose laundry. Something about clothespins clips my smile to that summer line, corner to corner with upside down shirts. Clean moisture lifting to the heavens, so real it seems. Some days I squint to catch the vapors rising like hymns to the sun. Something about my hands on cloth, shaking and smoothing and folding, fingertips reading the braille of fabric. Feeling heft or soft threads worn satiny, corduroy, denim, jersey, and colors tumbled all together. Something about order out of mess, easy puzzles of socks to solve, and shirts buttoned onto hangers. Inhaling fullness from these living garments, legs, arms, chest, the gentle embrace, the ear to the heart. Thank you.
I love those poems. Rain and laundry. I mean, mundane but critical parts of our lives. As a mom, I do mountains of laundry. Mountains. And so you have to love it or else you'd lose your mind, right? Thank you so much. You're so delicious. Our next poet is Nancy Romines-Walters. She lives in Wilton, Maine. Most recently, her poems were included in Enough, Poems of Resistance and Protest. She is an advocate for poetry as a voice for those living with disability, marginalization, and injustice. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you, Megan. I'm reading two poems tonight, and I've been thinking about how there aren't many experiences that we go through where nearly everyone thinks of them as a before and after moment, even though we all have them in our personal lives, unique to ourselves. And so these two poems mark what I think is a nearly universal before and after. The first was written 2 days before George Floyd was murdered, and it's called Complicit. Today, my husband is fishing for fish. He drove far away to sit still for a long time alone. Today, I am fishing for words. I walked to the porch to sit still for a long time alone. Today, he escaped to capture the fish. Today, I am free to be captured at home. In my mind, I see ripples where he fishes in currents. With my eyes, I see every tree leaf tremoring in currents. Molecules enter and exit my lungs. The leaves pass the molecules knowingly along. Later, the molecules reach Rock Pond and sweetly beguile the trout to leap. In this way, my breathing kills the fish he is hooking. All connected and yet unsuspected, immersed in regret, lost beyond thought, then left with continual forgetting that a person, though just sitting still, has the butterfly wing beats effect. And then we have this one that was written on June 23rd, exactly a month later, June 23rd, 20, Burning, which is in Enough. I talk myself into a carnival trick, swallowing rage like a flaming sword, not consuming, but transforming, flows out onto a page. The ink of my thinking, a boiling spill, carries me on its momentum. Arrested by distant, untraceable shots, at who and for what? Just stop. Sign of our senseless nation, a rooster crows at midday. A tear scrapes down a well-worn track, a mute cry of frustration. Above us all, the sun hangs low, torching our solstice drought days. Longest and strongest, heat turns all exposed to husk and dust underfoot. But you can't hose everything down. A knee on a neck, the last straw tinderbox, and raw thoughts burst into flame. People collect and spill out together, like matches out of their boxes. Then strike head first, flare blue, flare red, flare yellow, and spread wildfire. Raging, not violent, raging, persistent. Change, the tongues say. Change, the flames roar. Change, the will is clear. Spray all day, spray all night, squander all your water. You will not put out this fire. Thank you.
What a great poem. Thank you, thank you. Our last poet is Maya Williams. Maya Williams, they, she, is a mixed Black race poet based in Portland, Maine. They have published their work in Glitter Mob, the Portland Press Herald, Black Table Arts, Oculum, and more. You can Venmo them at Maya Williams 16. I'll put that right here. Welcome, Maya.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the space, and thank you to all who read tonight. This first poem is from Enough.
I want to write a poem to every Black and brown femme with earbuds in their ears, slowly strolling or quickly pacing on Congress Street every morning to catch a bus, catch an appointment, catch someone who had the nerve to try them. I want to write a poem to every Black and brown femme with earbuds in their ears, hands in pockets for warmth, only making eye contact with fellow Black and brown people before their separate turns at their respective intersections. I want to write a poem to every Black and brown femme with earbuds in their ears, listening to songs or podcasts they feel they can never play at home or work, or they do play them at both places and need repetition in their steps downtown. I want to write a poem to every Black and brown femme with earbuds in their ears, turning the volume up to block out the pro-lifers, the catcallers, the dead namers, misgenderers, the well-meaning white strifers. I want to write a poem to every Black and brown femme with earbuds in their ears, because all day in our shoes is a struggle for us. To stay alive all day is a struggle for us, and we still wake up to walk up and down or run up and down Congress Street anyway. Thank you. And thank you. This last poem is for Wanda Coleman's Wicked Enchantment that was edited by Terrence Hayes. I have waited 3 months for Wanda Coleman's book. It kept getting delayed. Phone calls did not make the delivery faster. Neither did breezing through books I had in the meantime. 1 week ago, it arrived at Print Bookstore, safe in its brown paper bag at the curbside. The pages smooth to touch with no worn discoloration, but they know it will come in my captivity. This week, my anxiety threatens my mortality. Withdrawal-induced headaches from lack of internal chemical vibrations. Withdrawal-induced spit builds under my tongue from lack of dry mouth. Tears over an article about police officers who got fired for killing porcupines instead of for killing Black people. I read Wanda's work. Wrapped in my partner's plaid blanket, I realized that God waited for the right time for me to read sustenance, sonnets that decolonize my mind about form, idioms that hold me like my grandmother's arms in an embrace, room to cast curses to mitigate apocalyptic harm. It's too cold outside. And amidst all the upheaval God allowed, amidst the wait for new medication, amidst the need to take a break from the news cycle, God gave space for soup. Thank you very much.
Oh, those were so fantastic. Credible readings. Thank you. Thank you. It's what we all needed to hear. And perfect poems to end with. Thank you so much, everyone. This was tremendous. Wonderful to be part of. We have about 10 minutes where we can have an after party. That means everybody can turn their videos on and we can see each other and you can ask questions. So this is a perfect opportunity for people who have questions, whether it's to direct to a single poet or you just want to put it out there. We can just let things happen and see how it goes. So please, everyone, turn on your videos. Let's see your faces and let's hang out for about 10 minutes if you'd like to. We'd love to see you.
Thank you, everybody. Agnes, would you like to say something?
Hi, everybody. I just want to say thank you to everyone. This was a wonderful reading, and it's so good to see all of you because some of you I've never met because of not being able to have parties and have readings in person. So it's so wonderful to see all of you, and thank you so much. It's great. It's a real honor to have published you guys. Thank you. Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye.
Agnes is not one for the spotlight too often. Thank you, Agnes. Thank you for publishing us. Thank you for bringing us.
I'll say something quickly. So I'm Claire Milliken, and I wanted to thank the poets from Enough you all are amazing, and thank you so much. You are more than enough. Sorry, it's a bad pun, but yeah, that was awesome tonight. Thank you. So yeah.
Thank you, Claire.
I'm Robin, calling from upstate New York, cousin of Catherine Berry. And this was just so wonderful. And, you know, she brought me into the fold of this group. And I am so happy to be able to listen to your wonderful words and to be part of this experience. Thank you so much.
Robin.
I would also like to ask people on, okay, go ahead. I can ask afterwards. I have some housekeeping.
I wanted to chime in and just say this might be my very favorite reading that Littoral Books' umbrella has sponsored. It was just so inspiring, and wow, do we need this right now. So thank you, all the poets. I didn't mention you all by name, but wow, it was just wonderful. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Kate. I just had a couple housekeeping questions. If you could type into the chat, if you're moved to, some new faces that I'm seeing, where you might have heard about Littorally Alive, if you saw an ad, where you might have seen the ad. As the behind the scenes person, that helps me understand how we're getting out to people. So that's all I've got. A little prosaic, but helpful.
I want to be a real pest and chime in again and say how much Lori Harley's book design and artistry has helped Littoral Books. I think she's just done a wonderful job. So shout out to Lori.
Yeah, here, for sure. You know, the book is not just what's inside it, but what's outside. And our books are really beautiful. So that's thanks to Lori. Of course, the insides are fabulous, but
yes, well,
the inside's fabulous always. We wanted more people into getting into the inside by having a lovely outside. So
great. Yes.
Wanted to say how glad I was to see you, Agnes, and Claire, because I can't negotiate all these rectangles during the reading, and I didn't know if you were actually there. And also, I wanted to say Claire not only is one of the editors, but she wrote one of my favorite poems in the book, Night Wounds, which you might all go take a look at. Night Wounds is wonderful, Claire. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's really means a lot coming from you, Martin. Thank you. Yeah, awesome.
Does anyone have any questions they want to ask any poets, or any questions about poetry in general? If you do, speak now.
I just had this is William Walker. I'm down in Massachusetts, but I'm a part-time Mainer. We have a place in Harpswell, and I just wanted to thank you for, Cara Douglas invited me, and this is all very inspirational. I mean, I've started some poems in my time, but I never quite finished them, and it kind of gives me some ideas about how, you know, what a powerful medium, really. So thank you.
Thank you for that, William. I think if nobody has questions, I'd like to wrap up the evening, and thank you all for coming. And just as a reminder, I will be having a conversation with Agnes on December 9th about her new book, which you can purchase on Littoral Books now in pre-order, The Oracle Pool. It's a wonderful book. I just finished it. Very pleased to be talking with Agnes. Hurry over to Littoral Books, pre-order, buy any of the books tonight, and please join us again. And I have a feeling we'll be doing more poetry readings in the future because these have been incredibly popular, very, very powerful. And we have more and more people that show up every time we do one. So thumbs up if you think we should be doing more. Right on. Let's do it.
And will the link to the reading on December just be on your website?
Yes, we always post on the Littoral Books website. Sign up for the mailing list. Go to the Littoral Books website, littoralbooks.com. I'll put it right in the chat. You can sign up for the e-news, and it will also be on the website, Littorally Alive. And you can also check on Facebook. Follow Littoral Books on Facebook.
We're also on Instagram, so you can check us out there for any of you who are on Instagram as well.
Oops, I just privately put that. Sorry about that.
Well, thank you all so much. It's been a delight, and stay tuned for more. And thank you all so much, poets. It's so beautiful to hear you all read your work. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Robert.
Amazing.
Thank you, poets. Thank you, Agnes.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Yes.
Thank you. Have a beautiful night. Be well, stay well.
Yes.
Megan, great job. Thank you so much. All of the readers who were left, you guys were wonderful tonight. It's just such a powerful program. I hate to use the word program, but it was really quite amazing tonight. Molana, I loved your little poems. I really want to, I want to read more of them.
They're not little.
They're
not little. They're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they're huge inside a very tight economical space, but anyway.
They are very short, yes.
I just love them. They're like fables. They should have drawings to go with them.
Totally.
Do you know Siri Beckman, the artist Siri Beckman? Does anyone know Siri's work? Susan, you're shaking your head yes. I was seeing like Siri Beckman's drawings going with her poem somehow. I don't know why, but
Oh, fine. I'll have to look
I'll have to look her up.
Okay, good night. It was
Bye,
great.
everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you guys
both
so much
so
for
much.
organizing.
Susan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night. It was
Good
absolute-
night.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Mary Ellen.
Good night, Catherine.
It's Megan. It's awesome to see you.
Awesome to see you too.
I miss you guys.
Oh my God. Woo. It's been wild.
It's been wild.
Yeah. I interviewed for a job today. I mean, like, it's like,
Oh, congratulations.
well, not good.
Okay.
Not good.
Anything good?
It would be perfect.
God, I hope so.
So, but you know, these jobs are so competitive. And I have a great personality, but you know.
You do. You're also brilliant.
Well, thank you.
And is Claire still there? Claire, hi. Thank you. It's so nice to sort of see you.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Claire. We've never
Your
met.
book is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to turn the light back on. Sorry, I'm in our basement. I'm just
Me
trying.
too.
I literally can't see anything right now.
There are some other people here too that are.
Hello. Other people who are here.
Everyone.
Live from my basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is all my son's kind of out in the toys and yeah. So
Well, hi, Claire.
yeah. Thank you so much, Megan. You are a great master of ceremonies as well as a great poet. So
Thank you.
it's definitely not a role that I can play. So I'm glad that you and Agnes have kind of stepped into the breach. So yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Total pleasure.
And like Megan, you were so seamlessly organized with this. Thank you.
Thanks. I'd say I like 99% I'm happy about.
Did I go over?
No.
Okay.
You're fine.
I timed it, and then I was like, oh God, did I go over?
It worked out fine because it worked out. It's all good.
I think the only people who go over are the ones who don't think about it, right?
you're
So they're just kind of like going on, and they're just like,
yeah. It went great. People were really. It was a great crew. People were really thoughtful and time sensitive, and
I was worried that Maya rushed. I wanted to be like, it's okay, it's okay.
I know. That's the only thing. We did run a little bit over, but she was incredible.
But it was like 1 minute. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, she was awesome. Totally awesome. Oh, Molana does do lots of drawings with hers. Her mom.
Oh,
I just thanked her for that. So who is going? I've got to tie this up, and I apologize. But who's going to be my wing person for my conversation with Agnes?
I was going to volunteer for you.
Thank you, honey. This is hard. I love doing it, but it's really hard with Adeline.
Kate,
oh no, it was my turn. I'm up. I'm yours.
All right, I will call you or talk with you. We can chit chat through email, and I'm going to be working with Agnes on the conversation. Maybe you could even be part of the conversation. I'm sure you will. But
could I get a book? I'm dying to read this thing. Like,
I'm gonna peace out, cutie pies. But
hi, honey. Kiss Adeline for me.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Good night, Megan.
I love you, Megan. Thank you.
I love you, honey. And Robert, it's always a pleasure to see you. Peace
Thank
out.
you, Robert. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Robert, for doing the video that I sent when I was even more sick than I am now. So it was nice to be able to send in the video. That was, I think you were the one that made that work for the first.
Yeah, and actually, I think that's one of the ones that's on the website right now. I'm slowly putting them up. But I had to edit because when I first started playing it, it was really, really bad.
No, it's really, I mean, my son and I made it, and I was like, well, I know I'm not going to be able to stay awake for the actual reading, and it's my book, and I want some presents. So I really appreciated your figuring out how to make it work. That was awesome.
It worked fine. I just had to do a little editing because there was a technical glitch when I first started playing it. But anyway, that was my problem, not yours. But yeah, so that should be fine. But definitely come back for the other ones and spread the word. I think it's going to be, this is going to be really, really exciting. So,
do you need an earlier time? Because Claire, like we can do these anytime.
Oh no! I mean, I'm actually getting better. I just had this. Oh, you don't want to hear the whole story, but I've been.
Okay, I actually do. I'm so starved for human companionship. It's okay. You could tell me your story all night long.
I'm going to let you two chit chat. I've got to go have dinner, and my cat's been yowling from the other room the whole time. So if you two want to speak, Kate, I will make you the host.
Oh, do I get the power? Okay.
Get the power. I'm going to stop the recording. And